Hello and welcome to Authentic Parenting. I am Anna Seewald. As part of our 10-year anniversary celebration, throughout the month of January, I am sharing a series of episodes that honor the conversations and community that have defined this podcast. This episode marks the 200th episode, and for this milestone, I'm the one being interviewed. The conversation is led by Lauren Thomas, a mother of 3, longtime listener and community volunteer who once ran our Facebook group. Listeners like Lauren supported this show, offered encouragement, and helped build the foundation it stands on. From the very first question, the conversation dives deep and sets the tone for a candid, revealing episode. Lauren asks about some of my most favorite guests, the top 3 most impactful episodes, and the most authentic moment of the podcast. We talk about interviews that went off the rails, guests who caught me off guard, and moments that challenged me as a parent and host. We also cover some of the moments that have become part of our community lore. The green stroller moment, the lowest parenting moment I've ever shared, and questions from our Facebook group that are provocative, thoughtful, and real. You'll hear about the most difficult age with my kid, the ways I keep go with the flow approach, the little things that embarrass my tween, but I keep doing, and even why a 3-star review made me cry for a week. At its heart, this episode is about connection, how honest conversations create trust, how community grows around shared stories, and how the podcast has always been guided by the people who showed up to listen. Tune in for an honest, revealing, and heartfelt conversation that looks back, celebrates the journey, and reflects on where we are headed next. Please enjoy, and thank you for listening.
I'm Lauren Thomas, and this is Authentic Parenting, a podcast about personal development in the context of parenting, where we explore how you can find more calm, connection, and joy in parenting through the process of self-discovery and inner growth with a trauma-informed lens. This is the 200th episode, and I am here with your host, Anna Seewald, and today I'm going to be asking her the questions. And you guys can peek behind the curtain and see more about her life. Hi, Anna. How are you today?
Hi, Lauren. Thanks for hosting the show. I'm doing very well. I'm a little nervous, as you know, every time I sit on this side of the table, but I think I should be fine.
Don't worry. You got this. I won't ask you anything too tough.
Okay, great. Whew.
So I figured we would start with some questions about you because everybody in the community, everybody in the podcast, we all want to know more about you and more about your specific parenting journey. So are you up for some questions?
I am up for questions. Yes. Throw it at me.
Okay. So let's remind the listeners again how old your daughter Ella is now.
My daughter is 11 years old. And I have 1 child. Yes.
All right. So what was the most difficult age with Ella and why?
Right now. This is
right now.
Right now. Yes. But with all seriousness, when I look back at my journey of 11 years of parenting this she is a difficult child. She's not easy, people. I can say with all honesty, this year, the 11th year, was the hardest year in terms of parenting, in terms of, I don't know, whatever. I'm questioning myself a lot more. she's changing. We moved. She started middle school, like lots of changes. She's growing into this independent person, which she was a very independent kid. I mean, imagine now it's like magnified and it's not as easy sometimes.
Wow.
So, yes.
I didn't think you were going to say right now. That really threw me off.
Wow.
That's crazy. Is it like having another adult in the house? Like,
yes.
Because now that she's 11, it's just this whole new thing.
It's like having, you're right, another adult, like a roommate who is very difficult on purpose, challenges you, gives you attitude, is rude sometimes.
Who never helps with anything and yells at you all day long?
No, the helping part is, I can't say about that. That would be a lie. She's a very organized, clean, neat, maybe a little too much.
Well, that's good, though. At least she helps with that. Yeah.
Yes, she's very good at helping, taking care of her homework, taking care of her binders. Her closet is super organized, everything. I don't have issues there. It's just, imagine she also wants an iPhone 11.
Oh, man. That's a whole nother podcast that you could probably talk forever about. Like, when you give them a phone and how that goes down. I am so curious about that. And we got to put that idea down somewhere.
Yes. I think I'm going to invite her on the podcast and have her complain in real time about me. And
oh my gosh, you're so brave.
and discuss about screen time, that she complains that I'm a mean mom, that I'm very strict, that everybody has a cell phone, and she's the only one. And it's true. Let's be.
You know what? I would love to hear that, like what her perspective is with all of her peers, like if they all do have a cell phone and how that makes her feel if she doesn't. I mean, just because all the other kids have one doesn't mean that that's necessarily the right choice for her. But oh man, yeah, you got to have her on.
Right?
I want to know more.
I think that's the next episode. Yes.
Okay, well now we know. Man, we jumped right in right now. Right now is the tough part. Okay. So let me ask you another question then. Bringing it back now that you have some perspective that right now is the hard part. Bringing it back to when she was younger, what was your most challenging toddler moment with her, or like younger phase with her that you just thought this is never going to end, or a specific moment with her that just really tipped you over the edge or was just out of control?
Yes, I have a good story for that from toddler years. But the most difficult phase of my motherhood journey has been the first maybe 6 months, or maybe the first year, maybe the first 10 months, let's say. 10 months she started walking and talking. This kid was very fast at everything. So I think maybe the first 6 months were the hardest. And of course, if you listen to the dark side of motherhood episode.
Yes, I have.
I gave that terrible title to that episode, but it truly felt like this is never going to end. You know, the beginning of motherhood for me was very difficult in terms of the physical aspect, the not sleeping, and the demands of having a new baby. On top of that, also, I was lonely, isolated. I didn't have any support. On top of that, I was grieving the loss of my mom and, going through a lot of emotional stuff. So it was very, very difficult for me. Looking at the toddler years, now I see it with rosy eyes, probably, with all honesty. And I do love toddlers.
I can't imagine that right now because my oldest is almost 4 and my middle is a little over 1.5. So I am. Some things I see really rosy, but other things I don't know. So it's really promising to hear you say that you are looking back with super rosy glasses because I'm going to get there someday.
I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed every moment of it. However, when you asked, can you give a specific situation? So a group of us I created a mommy group and we used to go to the playground every day. And I remember one day walking in our strollers, from the park to our apartment building, like 3 or 4 moms with our kids. And my daughter was giving me a hard time. I don't remember the exact, obviously, the situation, but this is what I did. I just put her in her stroller, left the stroller with the mommies, and I said, that's it. I am done. I said, do whatever you want with this kid. I am walking home. And,
oh man, what did the other moms do? That's what I want to know. Like,
they
were
were
you
so
close enough with them that they were like, yeah, I get you. Like,
oh my gosh,
here. We got you.
Yeah, they were so supportive. They came. Swati, one of my friends, she says, Anna, you never done this before. You know what went on? What's going on for you? They hugged me. They said, don't yell at Ella. She's not guilty. You know, they were so supportive. I don't know what was it, but I truly felt like, I am done, man. I'm leaving my kid here.
Well, sometimes you just hit your max, and how great that you were with these other moms that you felt really safe with. Like, that's definitely the silver lining. Like, they talked you down, they helped you out, they didn't judge you. So that's definitely a positive experience for you, like in that regard.
Yes, but that was, I think, the very rock bottom type of behavior, like the harsh, where I hit the end of my rope. I've done something like really critical like that. That's
oh man,
mm-hmm.
And it's still burned in your brain now. Wow. Whew.
As I still remember the green stroller.
Did you burn it after you were done? Like, goodbye, green stroller, never again, and I'm gonna see you.
No, I'm not that kind of an explosive person. No.
Oh man, I would have.
Oh boy, no, but that.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I've got another question for you then.
Yes.
Going off of the green stroller. All right, nobody do the green stroller. It's not a good thing. So establishing routines and shifts as the years go on. I'd kind of like to know about that because it sounds like something that is always happening and is still kind of a challenging point right now at 11, like with the cell phone and all of this. So like, how did you set up establishing routines, and how do you know it's time to switch them up?
That's a very good question. I think I go with the flow. I'm more of an organic person. I don't have any specific, unfortunately, I don't have anything concrete to say this is what I do. Naturally, I'm a very organized person. My home is organized, my life, my routine. We don't overschedule, whatever I talk about on the podcast, living simply and authentically, I try to live my life like that. So when something changes, it's visible, and not in the beginning, maybe, I struggle too, like moving from summer to school year, establishing the bedtime routine. It's not easy, but somehow, you overcome, you're focused. And it happens. I remember when she was switching in her toddler years, she quit naps at age 2. The moment she hit 2, that's it, no more naps. And I resisted it because that was my quiet time, right? When she's asleep, taking her nap, I could do certain things. And so I tried everything. And then I learned that you have to go with the flow. You have to be open, not resisting what's happening. And I think I learned those lessons early on, and maybe naturally I am that type of a person in reality. If something doesn't happen, I don't like push it forward, I just resign and let go and embrace the flow, what is. I am more of I think I have this Zen Buddhist approach to life at this age.
I love it. That's great. But it seems like you kind of have like more of a Zen lifestyle in general. Like you said, you have some general household routines and some things like not overscheduling, just some lifestyle things. So maybe that makes it easier for each transition that Ella goes through. Then you have the space to acknowledge it soon, and you're there. So you're hands-on, you're observing it as it's happening.
Also, yes. Also, we don't have multiple children, right? If I think it's different for every family, and definitely having one child, this is all you have, and yeah, it makes it a lot easier. But if I had, let's say, 3 children, everybody's going through different transitions. There's too much going on. There's 3 types of activities, right? So
Right.
that becomes more challenging. So I think it's easier for me to say that.
Well, I think this will be
yeah.
interesting to talk about towards the end, because I have some questions
Mm-hmm.
from our community page. And I know a lot of people in our group are kind of struggling with some transitional periods with their kids, transitional periods with themselves and their adult relationships and things like that. So that'll be good to circle back to. Okay, this is the last question about your parenting experience for you. So this is the last one in the hot seat for right now. What is the most surprising change that parenting brought to you? Like, how have you transformed or changed in a way that you thought you wouldn't? Like, okay, I'll say for myself, like I always said when I was in my early 20s, like, I will never drive that minivan. Who wants that minivan? Not me. And when my first was 6 months old, I said, go get me that minivan. I really, really want it. And I love it now. So that's just a minor thing. But like, what way do you think that parenting just really changed some perspective that you had?
Well, I'll give you one. I think there are many, but I think the first 2 that jump at me is the first one I already mentioned, that is outside of my control. I better embrace this, what is, and accept the present moment. I learned that lesson early on when I was trying to be
learning it. You keep it keeps coming back up for you. It reminds you, like, you got to let go. You got to let go.
I became more accepting and tolerant of other people and their parenting as well. I am so open now. And I also work with parents, so that helps me a lot. But I used to be that mom who would be very critical. Let's say you're on a plane and your child is crying. I would be like, oh, why is that child crying? Right? Just do something about it. But then, of course, when you become a mom, when your child is crying, like, you learn that, it's okay. This is normal. I became more tolerant of things like that. If a child is giving a mom a hard time and that mom is yelling in the store, just like yesterday, my daughter, no, we were at the dentist's office, sorry. And this young mom, early in the morning, has this 6-year-old child. We heard that he had cavities and all of that. So obviously hearing this bad news, it's financial, right? The dental issues. So this mom was yelling at her son, come on, put it on, da, 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 da. And then my daughter looks at me, she goes, with her dark eyes, I can see that my daughter was judgmental of this woman's mothering. And I said, Ella, you don't know what's going on for her, right?
Right.
And so like, I'm more open to that kind of, I'm not going to say, look at that mom. Why is she yelling at her son? Right.
And maybe she was just having a green stroller moment. Like she was at the end, she pushed that green stroller. Like, I have had enough.
Yes.
You never know. You might be catching them at their boiling point versus seeing their normal day to day. That's a stressful situation.
Yes. That's what parenting taught me, to become more open to other people's, their perspectives, their stories. We don't know who they are, what they're going through, be more compassionate towards them. And if I can help, I do help people in public places. I'm not embarrassed. My daughter says, no, don't do that. She always thinks I am a little too over involved with struggling moms, struggling kids. Like, I go and I offer my help. I entertain the child. I say, oh, you seems like you're going through a hard time. How can I help? I say to the mom, like, I'm very open,
Yeah. And you never know who needs it, who just really is having a rough day. And maybe they just need to know that it's okay, or that I see you and I'm not judging you. I'm right here with you.
Yeah. That embarrasses my daughter, but every person I've ever approached in a supermarket, in a park, they usually are open to receiving it. They're surprised. I may touch their hand, I may look at them, and I don't know. Motherhood, I think parenthood made me more like that,
Yeah. Well, I just saw this thing, Meghan Markle, who, I don't know, she's a celebrity who had a baby with one of those princes from England.
Mhm.
And she said in an interview, not many people have asked me how I am since having a baby. And I've seen that, her quote on the internet all over the place. And it just goes to show that just sometimes moms and parents can be unseen in those early years or that beginning of being a parent. And I think people like you who are willing to approach them and let them know I'm here to help, that makes a big difference in somebody's life.
Yes. I mean, what are they going to say? No, and be rude to me? That's okay. I can take that. But at least I know how hard it is in that moment for that woman, let's say in the store. If I can help, or in my neighborhood, I see that my friend, she's struggling with her 3-month-old. This child is crying all the time and the mom is anxious. They have a lot going on.
Right.
And they have 3 children. So every time I'm outside, I'm like, let me hold the baby. And I sing and I walk and the baby calms down. In the neighborhood, people call me, you have the magic touch. What are you doing?
Because you're relaxed.
Yes,
when you're not in that baby phase, sometimes you can just lean into it. This weekend, I was at my friend's party and I left my 2 kids with my parents. I was like, nope, not going to a new place with my 2 little ones darting off in different directions. And all their kids were more like tweens. And my girlfriend showed up. She just had her 3rd, who's 1. And she had a lot of like stranger anxiety. She's just in that phase, where she doesn't really want to go to anybody else or be put down. And I just stayed with my friend and I said, like, do you need something to eat? I'll fix you a plate. Like, I didn't try to take her baby because I know that she's, in that phase, but I could still be there with her at a moment where all these other parents had older kids and they were there to relax and hang out. But, it's hard when you have the little one and it's hard to always be the one that's caretaking for them.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so now I really want to ask you some questions about the podcast since it's the 200th episode.
Yoo-hoo! Yes.
So first things first, what sparked you to start the show? Like, what was the seed of the idea before you started it? Like, were you dreaming about it or how did you get that first episode out?
A very brief version is this. When I was a kid, I really liked radio, because everybody was listening to radio. My grandmother, we had a, wall radio everywhere I went. And radio for me was this magical thing. I always wondered, who were the people behind that box? I mean, where do they sit? What are they wearing? What are they doing? And I always wanted to be in radio. That was my dream, to work at the radio station. And then there was a phase in my life for like 16 years. I never watched TV, but I was always listening to radio. And when I was working as a young professional in Armenia, there were different stations I would call and participate in trivia games. I was very part of radio. I won things through those games and stuff like that. So it was radio was for me this magical thing. When I came to the United States, the first year of my education here, I had to find an internship. And instead of finding something related to my education, I went and applied to work at the Voice of America radio station in Washington, D.C.
What did your teachers think of that? Were they like, this wasn't quite what we had in mind?
But I tied it to my education.
See, you're so creative. And it was already sparking.
And so I did work the summer of, I think 2002, that would be maybe, in Washington, D.C. at VOA. I was doing interviews, editing them. I did a couple of live shows. It was... So I have the tapes of my interviews.
I was going to say, we need to hear these old tapes. Episode 201. I want to hear the tapes.
But see, these are in Armenian. I was working in the...
Okay.
Yeah. I was working in the Armenian section, right? Voice of America is this huge, they have different languages. So sort of I realized my dream in some way.
Wow. Was it everything that you thought it was? Like when you got to radio, was it what you had been picturing all these years?
I wasn't picturing it like that, but it was amazing. It was an amazing experience to meet the people whose voices I had heard for years. They were elderly people,
Yeah.
A couple of the people were elderly people, and they gave me their books. We took pictures with them. We had lunch with them. It was an amazing experience altogether. So audio for me and radio was this amazing thing always, right? And then when I was listening to podcasts back in 2010, when podcasts were a thing, I had a blog at that time, and I wanted to, I was tired of writing, and I'm like, I want to create something for parents that is, relatable, a good resource. And I said, maybe I should just do this podcast thing. And of course, I started haphazardly. I had no plan, no launch idea, nothing. I haphazardly decided to do this just to provide a resource for parents. I recorded some interviews with the people I knew in my industry and stuff like that. And the audio quality was very poor because I didn't have proper equipment and things like that. But I was really enjoying it. And in the beginning, I had no idea where I was going, as opposed to now, I shaped my message. I know what it's about. I'm invested a lot in this podcast. I have a curriculum. I know what guests I want to bring on. So I really, plan, months ahead of time. It's, as I said in the beginning before we recorded, it's like my second job, except I don't get
For sure. It's like a really extreme hobby that is taken over to a second job. And we also appreciate it. I want to throw that out there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So speaking of picking your guests and how that takes. So I want to know, what is your favorite guest of all time that you have ever had on the podcast, and why? Or maybe two if you can't quite think of one.
Oh my gosh. A lot of guests are very special. Obviously, every episode is special. It's hard to choose one. However, the guests that I admired all my life and followed their work and, sort of revered them, definitely when I invited them to the show and they said yes, and I had the opportunity to interview them, obviously those were the guests that, have a special place in my heart. And number one is Mark Nebo.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yes, that interview is the most impactful for me. I think
you cried in that interview, right?
Yes, the whole time I was crying.
Yes.
I couldn't ask questions because he touches my heart very deeply. And I met him in real life. I attended the 3-day seminar with him. I had lunch with him. We conversed. So I know him personally a little bit too.
Wow. What an experience.
So that interview is definitely the number one for me. And that interview was picked up actually by the Insight Timer meditation app, and they featured it on the front page, and thousands of people had a chance to listen to it. When I received this email from the Insight Timer meditation app that this interview with Mark Nebo was picked up, I was like, wow, because it truly is a fantastic episode.
It really is. I have listened to it multiple times. And you know what? Everybody in the community page, a lot of people picked that for their favorite one. And it is like so inspiring. So the whole thing, amazing. Everybody's got to go listen to it after this one.
Another one is Rick Hanson, Dr. Rick Hanson, the author of Buddha's Brain and Resilient.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. I also really admire him, his work. I followed him for years. And when I emailed him, I find my own guests, I sent the email and he said, yes, he would be excited to be a guest. I was like, oh my gosh, this is my dream came true. And you can hear my excitement in that interview. When I interviewed him, you can hear my voice. I'm like all over the place. And after that interview, I received the 3-star review and people complained about me.
Well, you know what? Person. And you were like, who cares? I was starstruck and I loved it. So
no, I cried. I cried for a week.
No, why? Was it really mean?
It's not mean. I don't know. It was the first time that I received a negative review. There are 1-star ratings and 2-star and 3-star, but no reviews. But this one is, there is words, there is a review. The person says exactly. And of course, they don't know who I am, my story, and I took it too personally. It was the first time I received something against the podcast, and I cried, and I contacted my editor, and I said, Danny, this is what happened. And he said, oh, as you get bigger, you're going to, get more non-stellar reviews. So be prepared, develop a thicker skin. And I do now.
Right.
Because I know people who contact me every day, how it changes their life and everything. So, but that was the first time, like I cried for a week and I'm like, am I going to continue?
Isn't that funny how, you could get 100 really positive feedbacks and that one negative one can just like dark cloud over you. Yeah. I'm really glad that you kept going after that though.
Yeah. Should we read that one review or no?
No, I don't want to bring you back to that bad place. Okay, but I do have a dark question now.
Yes.
So what guest, I asked you what your favorite one is. Uh-huh. I'm not going to say like who was your least favorite one, but what guest caught you off guard? Maybe in like a good way that it went better than you anticipated, or one that just went off the rails and kept going.
Okay, I'm going to give you 3 examples.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first interview that threw me off guard, the first moment that I actually became very humble and I was very shocked and surprised, an interview about discipline with John Rich, I think his last name is Dr. John Rich. Somebody connected us and somebody wanted us to do this podcast about how spanking is bad and all of that. And I didn't know his story. I didn't know really who he was. I knew him professionally, but I didn't know his personal story. And he somehow was asking me questions a lot in the beginning. And I was la, 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 took the spotlight. Then I was chatting and talking. And then in the end, when I asked him about his story, when he shared about that his father spanked him, that his grandfather spanked his dad, you can hear me cry. I think that's the most authentic moment of the podcast to this day, because I didn't expect it. I didn't know it. And it hit me so hard. And what a change of dynamics. Like you said, yes. He was asking you the questions. It was really lighthearted, fun, and then no, it wasn't fun.
This came around.
Yes, but my story, I wasn't spanked. You know what I mean?
Right.
The juxtaposition was very big, and I felt so bad afterwards for taking the spotlight and just blah blah blah, being like dominating the conversation, and but that moment, maybe I can ask my editor to put it right here in this moment. That little segment when I heard his response and how I reacted. I think that's the most authentic moment of the podcast.
Being calm is essential, and we didn't get much of a chance for me to talk about my story, but I'll do it very quickly in order to make this point. So both of my parents came from pretty abusive households. My mother was beaten by her father pretty regular basis, along with her older brother. My father was raised by an alcoholic father who was a police officer, and he had a couple favorite punishments that he liked to use on my father. The one was to burn him with lit cigarettes, and then there were a couple occasions where he, I guess, thought it would be helpful to make him sit while he put his mother in a chair, and then he pulled a gun to his mother's head and pulled the trigger, and there were no bullets in the gun, but still, like he said that he did that at least 3 times that he can remember.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So back to the point about parents being regulated, I know from the research that when I did something, my father's first instinct, I can almost guarantee it, was going to be abusive.
Yes.
That's got to be what crosses his mind especially when he's feeling frustrated. And so even though I was brought up in a household where I was spanked occasionally, I don't know how many times total, maybe a dozen times, something like that. I also have a consciousness of both my mother and my father counting while they were spanking and holding back. I'm sure they were holding back. I'm not trying to excuse the spanking. I'm against spanking. I want to make sure that that's clear. But the gift that they gave to me was to be courageous enough to not do it exactly the same way. So I'm not sure that they were capable of completely getting rid of it, but they had to have some kind of self-control in that moment to not really wail on us. And that experience that I had where they scaled it back, I think put me in place to really think about it and to get rid of the practice altogether.
Wow. Oh my gosh. This breaks my heart when I hear stories like this, when you say that they were scaling it down, because that's all they could do. You know, people who carried a tremendous trauma.
Yeah.
That's how they could manage. That was their internal resources. That's all they had. Unfortunately, love is not enough to be a parent. And I can tell you, I work with parents from all walks of life. And I have never, ever met a parent who doesn't love their child. But love is not enough. But what hurts parents the most is that trauma, that what you describe about your father's situation. It's hard, and he didn't get help. And forget the modeling part, the help that he needed to heal from those wounds, from the fear, that the environment that he grew up. It's so messed up. And just to scale down on his own child, that's so big. It just impacts me so deeply. And what you do today, how you do differently, is again, it's another few steps higher up. And your children most definitely will do a lot better than you, a lot better than their and that's what we hope for. That's what we hope for.
Oh, well, what a good person you are to be upset for me like that.
Mm-hmm. The second one was Maureen Healy. Maureen Healy was a pitch. I didn't reach out to her. You know, I get a lot of pitches and emails, and people submit guest applications through my website. There is hundreds of applications. I don't have time to look through the applications. In fact, if any of the listeners submitted, I apologize for not responding. I don't have time to go and look through the applications. You know, I have to hire someone. Maybe you, Lauren, I can hire you to.
Oh, I would help you. You know, I love researching. I'm all about it.
Because there are amazing people that submitted applications, and I didn't get back to them. Maybe we can, have interviews and highlight them. So
yeah, we'll chat about that. Yeah, we're always emailing. We'll email about this.
And so Maureen Healy was a pitch, and truthfully, I said, no, I don't want to interview her. They sent me her book. I read the book. I said, at this moment, we're not talking about children. I'm more interested in personal development and the parent. And, but the publishers were very insisting, and I felt very guilty saying no. Anyways, I said, I can have an interview. And you couldn't hear in the interview, but I was so aggressive from the very beginning.
Really? Do you think you kind of came into it a little like you said, you felt a little guilty? Do you think you felt a little put off already in the beginning? Like, I kind of don't feel like I'm jiving with this?
Because when I asked her in the beginning, I said, this podcast, it's all about sharing vulnerably, authentically personal stories. I want to know your personal story. She told me her personal story. She said, however, she doesn't want to talk about it. And I said, well, you're making my job very difficult.
Right.
And she had a heartfelt story, but she didn't want to go there. And it's okay, right? I honored that.
Right.
But my predisposition was already very sort of hostile, I want to say. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this interview attitude. And I was
you know your listeners too. And the best episodes are the ones where you can really connect with the guests.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, what are people going to say after listening to this interview? Are they going to sense that I was really not in my best behavior, in my best mood? And she was promoting herself a lot, very infomercially, my book, blah, 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 my book. And I was like, listen, we will promote you. We'll put your book in there, but not a promotional show. I was very taken aback. So, but it's not a bad interview. I listened back after it was edited, and you can't sense my attitude, but I felt it during the whole interview.
Right. You were the only one who could really be super perceptive to it.
Mm-hmm. And the third interview was...
Oh, I feel like I already know. Can I guess?
Yes.
Byron Katie.
Bingo. It was... I have to say this honestly, and I'm sorry if there are any fans of Byron Katie.
I am a huge fan. And you know
are?
What? No, I'm not a huge fan, but I do like her. And we got to her from someone in the community page had commented that she was reading this book that was really interesting. So I picked it up for our book club that we used to do every month. And I really loved it. A lot of her work spoke to me. It was a little intense, but then you reached out and got an interview with her. And we were all like, those of us that read the book were like waiting, like this is going to be amazing. And before you even said anything, like we listened to it and it was, Yes.
So it surprised me in that way, because I'm usually able to get to any person I feel like and make them feel welcomed and open. They always open up, right? It's I have a style and so they come into the show like that. It has always the same warmth, the same style. Every interview almost goes the same way. And but with her, I feel like I couldn't make anything, like I couldn't go into her. I couldn't.
She had a really set script. Like,
yes,
this is my answer, and that is what it is. And that is her whole thing. It is what it is. But she didn't want to dig deeper into another story. She just wanted that one thing.
And I tried very hard asking different questions, making it more personal. And after 30 minutes, I said, you know what? I'm done. Like, I don't want to do this interview. And I cut it short. I said, thank you so much for coming. It was an honor, blah, blah, blah. And I ended that show because I just couldn't do it anymore. It was torturous for me. If the other party is not opening up and they're giving you canned answers, I don't want this, right? People can read your book. And I even put me on the spotlight and I bring an example from my life that I was at the moment going with a friend.
Right. Yeah. You were being vulnerable and putting it out there, and she was not picking it up. And I do still really love her book. I think she has some great content. Mm-hmm. But as for being a guest who's going to be interviewed and really be open-minded to everyone having a different story, I don't think she could do it.
Yes, I think it's okay that it was what it was, and but I was completely taken aback and surprised in that way.
Oh, for sure. And because all of us were like, you're going to do the interview this week. Like, it had been hyped up on our page a lot. And like, you were excited. We were excited about it. And then, I think that contributed to some of it too.
Yeah, I was never her fan. I have to be honest. I was never like a super fan of her work. But since the community demanded this interview, I said, you know what? Why not? And she said so eagerly, and she sent me a beautiful email.
It seemed really promising. Like, okay, everybody really likes her. She's really into this interview. She got back to you like right away. Yeah, that one went off the rails, I would say.
Oh, you
definitely shut it down. It was good.
Because I was already becoming very silly in the end, and I'm like, "Do you like coffee? Do you like chocolate?" I'm like, "Am I gonna
anything? Like, am I just asking her the wrong questions? Like, give me an opinion. It didn't seem like she had an opinion on something.
Yes.
I don't know.
But another guest that I want to mention, one of the most impactful episodes is Mark Wallin. Mark Wallin, about inherited family trauma. We have two
Yes.
episodes. Mark Wallin, well, you don't know the full story, how he changed my life in terms of trauma. Maybe one day I'll share that story. I had a health-related issue in 2016. That's how I came to meet Mark Wallin. He's one of those guests that I really met him, and I took a seminar with him, and had a personal interaction with him.
Ooh, I really want to hear more about this. I'm going to write this down. I gotta make some notes. I got some thoughts here.
So Mark Wallin was a guest in 2017 or 16, I believe. So if we go back and see in the earlier years of the podcast, but I met him recently. I bumped into him. I was attending a workshop and he was there. Boy, it was so amazing to meet him. And of course, he remembers me. He did a seminar. He highlighted me. I was his case. It was pretty fascinating.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that was another impactful episode.
Okay. So I have one more question about the podcast. In what ways has the podcast affected your life? Maybe in like a surprising way, or like, obviously you said it's taken on its whole life. Like it's your second job. People are depending on you. It's some pressure, but what are your feelings?
The biggest feelings, I actually made a list very quickly. I can go over the list. I was having coffee one morning as the 200 episode was approaching. And, I was reflecting how this journey, first I started it, and I feel like only after the 200 episode, I'm just getting started. I'm getting better at it, at listening, at speaking, at interviewing. I'm just getting better. When I hit 100 episode, I think the 100 episode for me was a big milestone. I was so overjoyed. But the 200 is like, I'm not as excited, I think, as I expected it to be, because maybe my standards are higher for myself. I am constantly trying to learn, and I have definitely learned and grown from the content of this podcast. It has tremendous impact on my life. Besides giving me joy, besides giving me meaning and purpose, it also connected me to people like you and to the other members of this authentic parenting community that are amazing people. Like every person I met or I talked to on the phone, I've become friends with some of the people. It just enriches my life in ways that I could have never imagined. It makes me a happier person because I have this podcast. I think I'm a better person in life. I have a different perspective. I get to enjoy those conversations, and they stimulate me. They inspire me. I learn and grow from them in a very supercharged way that I could have never done if I was just reading books on my own. And because the community is there, I feel like it's so big. I feel the support of the community like on my shoulders. Like I'm not alone. This is not me. We have this together, and it gives me tremendous joy and gratitude. As I said during the Authentic Parenting Conference, I've never felt gratitude this way ever in my life. That almost my heart wants to burst every time I receive an email or a note. No, I'm seriously.
Yeah. No, it's so sweet. It really is. And I know what you mean. Just for me being in the community, I mean, it means a lot. I remember a few months ago, one of the moms posted that, like, not into real detail, that her son was kind of going through a tough time at school, and today was going to be a big day for him. And she was just asking people to think of him. And it was really amazing, like how many people just came forward and were like, you know what, I just hope everything goes so great. And just the encouragement that other people give just freely without needing to know more, without asking more, just whatever you're here, whatever you're saying, we accept it.
Yes, I agree. And, people contact me. There is this one woman, it's an amazing story. and I'll be very short. A young girl who is listening now, and I don't want to say her name. Hello, sweetheart. I'm sure she knows who she is. She contacted me via Instagram. She said, I'm sure you're not going to read my message. I'm sure you're busy. Like, people think I'm this like big celebrity. I don't care about you, but I do care about every person. And she said that she's struggling with addiction, and she's a young mom, a single mom, and she needs help. And she was asking me for help. And I said, I'll call you. Let's talk.
Wow.
So after a few failed attempts, we connected, we spoke. I encouraged her. I don't know her. I've never met her, but I feel like if I can support her even in this way, I can. I'm not going to save her life for sure. And so I encouraged her. I said, yes, definitely, you can get over this. You find help, do this, do that. We went over the steps that she had to take. And she just texted me the other day, giving me great news. And let's see. I was so touched. She said, I'm sorry. And I was checking on her every now and then. I text her, I call her, and I say, how are you doing? What are you doing? I was checking on her. She said, I'm sorry. She said, I'm sorry. I'm just now replying. So much has happened. And when you texted me, I wasn't in the right state of mind. But now I'm going to a methadone clinic and I meet with the therapist. It was my last chance, but it's helping me get by every day for now, which is good. I want to say thank you for your help and listening to me talk when I was really rock bottom. I spoke about you in group today, about how your podcast really helped me and opened my eyes to so much as a person and a mother. Thank you, Anna. I mean, just
that is beautiful.
Just that, right? So that's how this podcast changed my life,
Wow.
I've become a better listener. My heart is open and more compassionate for sure, because I think when I listen to people's stories, and there are so many amazing stories that we shared on the podcast, I also am encouraged to show up more vulnerably in my private life. And I am more open, more vulnerable, and more authentic. And I am seeing tremendous impact and results in my relationships. So I just can't say enough. And I read a lot. Obviously, I read all the guest books and I listen to their interviews and all of that. I learned so many things about myself.
Well, they say you are with what you surround yourself with. And you are surrounding yourself with so many impactful people. And now others are gravitating to you. Like, you are the pole that brings them together then. That's amazing.
I became more okay with imperfections, also with my own and with others. I noticed recently that there is something I say on the podcast that is not a correct English. And I'm sure there is other things that I say that are not correct English, but English is my third language. So if somebody caught a big mistake of mine and is willing to send it to me, I'm like so excited to see if people caught that mistake. And I listened to myself the other day. I'm like, oh my gosh, I said it again. Like, I make this.
Oh man, I got to go through and look. I'm usually really observant, but I don't want to call you out. We love your voice. We love it.
Oh, you
sound amazing. We love the way you talk, man. Your third language. I've got one, and it's okay some days. Like, no, we love it.
But I'm so thankful nobody has ever said, oh, you say this word incorrectly, or there are grammar snobs, but no one has ever called me out. So thank you for that. I've become more spiritual as a result of this podcast. And I also feel like this notion of that we're all one and we're connected has become so palpable for me because of the podcast. And obviously it gives me a platform to speak and sharpen my message. And I know what authenticity is, why I stand behind it, and I want to write a book. So many, many things. I've learned so much about myself, about that I use the word perhaps a ton, and I hate it.
What would you use instead, though?
I don't know.
You got to use one of those the oh gosh, I can't even say the word. Thesaurus.
Yes.
Cut this part out. But where they pick another word for you, perhaps that's a good one. No, keep
Yes.
using it. I like it.
I know. I also learned that human resilience is an amazing thing. And no matter what, I believe like all the stories that we have shared, right? It's all about human resilience and hope and recovery and healing. That gives me joy, happiness, hope, and excitement. That I want to share that message and give people that message, you know?
I think that that's the biggest part of your podcast is that there are so many guests, so many people on that are being so vulnerable. And that's what gives other people the empathy and the compassion for others. Every single time that you hear someone else's story that's different from your own, it opens up your perspective to see things in a new way. And the more that people share their stories and tell their stories, I think the more we all become more accepting.
Yes, I agree. And of course, it gives me this creative platform. I can do whatever I want. No one is there to, I don't have a boss who says you have to do it this way. So I think in terms of motherhood, I would highly encourage other moms to find creative outlets, not necessarily a podcast, even though if you want a podcast, I will connect you to my editor and they can help you with that. But creative outlet is so important for moms, for women. It gives you life juice to be happy in your parenting, in your relationships. I think this podcast gives me that creative outlet, and thank you for being there. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist.
Well, thanks for that. I love helping you in any way that I can. There's so many amazing moms in our community, and even at the conference. I mean, Laura that made the graphic for our community page, like
Yes.
She's amazing.
Yes.
Natalie that I met at the conference, I follow and connect with her on social media now. She makes these plant terrariums and sells them in local shops near her house that are like amazing. And it's so interesting to see every single person and the fun little creative ways that they are expressing themselves and being more authentic to them.
Yes, I love this community. I truly do. The people who came to the conference, I keep in touch with most of them. It's the representation of the community, right?
Oh, for sure. I just reached out to somebody that I met at the conference who has been through a past situation that's kind of similar to what someone in my family is going through right now. I reached out to her because I knew that she would get back to me and just really have some amazing insight. And she did. In 5 minutes, she gets back to me and like so helpful, so non-judgmental, so willing to do anything within her power. And it was just amazing. I met her one day at your conference and I knew I'm going to reach out to her and she's going to help.
Our conference, not mine.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be about myself. Truly, it's not about me. I really, and I'm struggling now about the 2020. Where shall I host a conference? And of course, the pressure is big to do it and to do it even better. And so I'm in this phase of choosing a venue and trying to choose a date, and it most likely it will happen in October in 2020 as of now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I can't believe all the work that goes into it, and it was really such a special day. We all really appreciate you setting it up and connecting everyone to each other.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I have some questions about from our community page, some frequently asked questions in there. So are you open to answer some?
Yes, to the best of my ability. Yes.
Okay, well, you know what? This kind of works out perfect because a lot of them are questions about tweens, and Ella is right there. And you said that this is the most difficult stage. And you know what? The community agrees. I should not be surprised that you said that because everyone is like tweens, oh my gosh, this is a whole new ballgame.
Lauren, I'm a regular parent, okay?
I know, but I'm just like, man, every single phase with my girls, because they're so young, I'm just like, it just keeps getting easier. Like, I agree. The first year is really difficult, like for multiple reasons. They're really dependent on you, but every single phase that they've gone through has gotten easier, easier, easier. And now I'm just like, man, those tween years they're coming for me. Okay. So here's the first one. So tweens and emotions, how to be there for your tween without overstepping or projecting what your idea is onto them. Like, oh, this is how you should solve your problem.
I think as our children get older, this is a good practice to have. I'm good at this. I don't suggest, oh, this is how you should do it, Ella. I always encouraged from a young age, what do you think? This is why I think one of the strategies that I teach is the strategy of questioning, right? Ask them questions, let them use their brain, let them use their mind. Even if you know the answer, the correct answer, it's never about us, right? You want your child to feel more empowered and autonomous, when they are doing something. Emotional aspect with twins, say that again, the question. I'm not sure if I'm understanding this correctly.
How to be there for them during their emotions without overstepping.
Yes.
So if your tween is having these big, huge emotions, instead of, like you said, you ask her questions, where I feel like a lot of people are having a tough time, like they want to fix the problem.
Yes.
So I guess being present with the emotions without taking them on as the parent, and with still like validating and kind of finding a solution to what's going on.
I think it's never okay to overstep emotionally, whether it's your partner, whether it's your child, or whether it's your, young child or teenager or twin. You want them to have their own experience. I think this talks about boundaries. You need to know where you begin and end, where your child begins and ends. It's never personal for us, even though sometimes it does feel. One of the things that I have learned, that not take anything personally that my daughter says to me, even if she says, I hate you, mommy, you're the worst mom ever, you're so mean, she says, right? I don't take it personally. And I never go into that battle and say, speak to me kindly, respectfully, how dare you? I never go that route, because I am trying very hard not to take it personally and see her pain, her suffering, her perspective, which is that and what's causing that. Creating that space for their emotions to surface and just be there and listen. I think sometimes giving them time and space with twin years, especially, you don't want to be over, oh, I'm here, I understand, I validate. They need sometimes space. Honor that and give them that space. Instead of saying, go to your room and calm down, maybe you step away and say, you know what? I don't think right now is a good moment for us to speak. I'm available, but I'm going to go to the kitchen. I do that sometimes when emotions are too high. Either she goes to her room or I go somewhere else, because you can't offer emotional support in that moment.
And keeping it neutral, kind of like, I'm not upset. I'm not leaving you because I'm hurt by what you said. I'm not leaving you because, I can't take it anymore. I'm just taking a beat and I'm going to the next room, and I'm letting you know in this really calm, neutral voice. And I will circle back to this.
Yes, I'm not neglecting them. I'm communicating that I am present, I'm available, but I also set the boundary that this is what I'm doing to preserve my sanity and my calmness. And that sets an example for her. And if she's hormonal and moody, that's okay too. And usually when it de-escalates, we can repair and reconnect, and it usually happens.
I think we need to go more into this one episode about creating boundaries for yourself as a parent and an individual, and for your kids, and modeling that. Because I think a lot of people would benefit from that one.
Yes, I do have in mind an episode about triggers, an episode about boundaries. Maybe I should.
Great.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that answers the question, but those are my initial thoughts.
I think it's really like starting to answer it. And I think it's a good jumping off point and people will want to know more. That's what I mean. Okay. So kind of building off of that question, we had a person write in about body positivity with your child, and especially with peers and outside influences involved. So like what to say to your teen when your teen or tween is expressing some negative body emotions, whether it's based upon what someone has said to them or what they perceive about their body, and how to handle that.
Yes, this is a very difficult topic, of course, and it can bring up things in a parent if that parent either currently or has ever struggled with the same issue. Right. So this can become very, very personal. Again, this is one of those things that you want to take your emotions out of it. This is not about you. It's hard to do sometimes. These things are so easy
especially
to say.
If they say it off, all of a sudden, if you're not expecting it, they come home and they're exploding this onto you and you had no warning or preparation. And I feel like it's really easy, especially like you said, if you're triggered, to go back to this point of, oh, no, you're not. You're amazing. You're perfect. Or like, I can't believe they said that to you.
That's
like you're bringing these emotions into it that aren't helpful.
The key is to show interest, curiosity, and not pump the child's confidence. No, you're not, like that. That's right. The totally wrong approach. If my child, let's say, if your child says, I am fat, or I have acne, or whatever the thing is. What makes you say that? I'm curious. I would just join in and see where she's coming from. And if there is some truth to the matter, and sometimes there is. Sometimes our children are overweight. Sometimes they have body hair, unwanted hair when they are tweens. I had another mom contact me and ask this question specifically. My child is 13 and she has a lot of body hair and she wants to do her eyebrows because it affects her self-esteem. And I said, do it. Why not?
Right.
You can bring your child to a place where they can trim her eyebrows or shape them or unwanted hair or things like that, because that can be a cause for suffering for this child in a society where, everything is objectified, women, sexuality, right? Everything is so, you have to be so perfect. Everybody's eyebrows are the same on social media. Everybody has the same makeup. I mean,
right. And I think that's a triggering point for some parents. Like, they don't want their kids to feel that they need to change themselves. But, we as adults have personal preferences to the way we look, to our body hair, to our makeup, to whatever. And I think as tweens, you're kind of exploring that. And I think staying curious and letting them try out some things in a healthy way and in a way with you involved, to kind of explore what do I want?
Being supportive. First, don't deny their reality. What is their reality? If your child says, I am such and such, she feels that. Investigate why this is happening. What causing that? Did somebody say a comment? What happened, sweetheart? I would investigate. I would be of support. I wouldn't deny and say, no, you're not. You're amazing. Look at this. Or another thing, look at your eyes. Okay, your feet are not good, but your eyes are amazing. Or, those kind of comments are not helpful, not effective.
Yeah, it's just kind of putting a Band-Aid on it and just switching to something else. And I heard something interesting one time, like the way you're talking to your child, would you talk to your friend like that? Like if your friend came to you and said, oh, my eyebrows are out of control. I really want to go to that new place and try to get them waxed or tweezed or whatever. Would you say, oh, no, you don't need it. You're fine the way you are. Moving on.
Some people
like
say
you would let her talk about it. Well, I would hope that my friend would be like, oh, what does that place do? How do you want your eyebrows to look? Like, do you think that they could make your eyebrows look like that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think not denying their reality, hearing them, first of all, giving them space to speak up and see where they're coming from, what's bothering them. Be of support, ask questions, curiosity, and be of help if need be. Like I said, you can take charge and trim the eyebrows or the unwanted body hair. Or, okay, if you feel, that your child is struggling with weight, maybe you can do something about it. Instead of shaming, guilting, judging, it's the Cheetos that you're eating, da 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 da, it's this. Make diet changes maybe together instead of
Right.
making it obvious and shaming and blaming the child. This is a very sensitive area. I mean, these are just my initial thoughts, but of course, every family is different. Every mom is different. Every daughter is different. And if your child is being bullied, that's a whole completely different area.
For sure. Oh, it's a really complex question. One that gets asked a lot because it is so complex and
especially,
variable from family to family.
And especially now, I think with social media, children are a lot more mean and open, and they can say comments without taking ownership and without knowing that comment can hurt someone. And as I said, there is this culture of everybody looks the same. And if you don't look the same, then you can be ostracized and all of that.
Right.
It
is tough being a tween these days. And it is definitely different than it was when I was a tween and when all these other parents were tweens. It's a different ball game now.
Mm.
Okay, so I have one more community question. And this one is parent related, not about the child, and how to manage expectations with friends and families in this particular situation when your own parent isn't as hands-on as you would like them to be. So if you're going through something and your own parent isn't as helpful in that, or parent disappointment as an adult.
No, boy, I can say so much about this. Accept what's available in that relationship and just move on. If I wish every parent would be a great, amazing, great grandparent for our children, but we have to accept what's available. What are they capable of? If they are only capable of speaking over the phone and seeing once in a while, you have to accept what is and not
manage expectations. Yeah.
Manage your own expectations. Of course, we have fantasies. We see other people. We are jealous. We want our. Oh, you have a dog?
Oh man, I have 2 dogs and they are crazy. This one, she's the better of the group.
She's like, I have something to say about this topic.
Always. Yeah. She has something to say about everything. Probably about me being a bad parent to her right now.
Oh gosh. So that's the piece of advice I would give. I think relinquish any hopes and unrealistic expectations and embrace and accept what's available in that relationship. And sometimes we have to cut people off. And sometimes if you don't want to talk to your mother because it's very toxic, you have to go ahead and do that.
This one is a tough question because there's no good answer. It's really hard to hear that you might just not be getting this from that relationship. It might just not be a possibility. And I think people a lot of times put a lot of effort and a lot of thought into wishing it would change.
And I think it's just feel the pain of it. Say, this is what's available. I'm sad that it's not. It's grief, that pain, that loss that comes with it. It's unbearable, maybe. It's sad that you have to cry, be with it. It's not like, okay, it's not available, let's move on. No, this is a serious thing.
Right. And it might pop up again. You might grieve the loss of this isn't the relationship that I wanted. And a year later, those feelings might resurface. It's not like, one time I let it go and now it's gone forever.
Yes, it's best to have realistic expectations than always go to the same source and get hurt and get hurt. I feel like it's already your responsibility to create that boundary to protect yourself. Because if you're going and knocking on someone's door and they're not there, and you get hurt every time you knock on that door, and when you go to an empty water well and there is no water, I think you need to change your strategy. You need to change your expectation. You need to go to a different source and accept what's available. I think, as painful as it is, and feel that pain and deal with that pain, and sometimes maybe with the professional help or help of a friend or a spouse, because it's a painful thing. And as I said, sometimes those relationships are very toxic. And I just recommended a friend in regards with her father, and she was like astounded when I said, you know what? No, it's your father's turn to make a move and do this. And if he's not being a mature person, you are already in your 40s. That's it, man. This relationship, you can't give and make yourself small and get hurt anymore in this relationship. And she was like, really? You're saying this? I said, yes. Yes, it's written in the Bible, honor thy mother and father and all of that. But if your own parents are a big source of suffering and pain, and this is a complicated topic, but you have the right to be in charge of your relationship. If you don't want to see them, or if you want to see them on a very sparse schedule, that's okay. You don't owe them anything just because they gave you life. I feel a lot of people suffer because they think like that, and because of religious beliefs, because of societal constructs and what other people would say, and all of that. And they struggle. They're not happy. They don't show up greatly in their parenting, and
right, because it affects everything. If you're constantly putting yourself in this situation where you feel rejected, then you're showing up in your relationships, in your marriage, with your children, with your friendships, as this person who feels not worthy.
Yes. And this is a great place to suggest Mark Nepo's interview again, because it was all about this topic, how all his life, throughout his life, he wanted his mother's love and approval, and she was not able to give it to him. Man, it was so hard to hear that story. I even want to tear up now, even when he was going through cancer journey, and his mom and dad lived right there near the hospital, and they never came to support him. I mean, it's just, it is what it is sometimes. It's sad, man.
And that's hard for him. You have to grieve that loss of not having the support that you needed in that moment, and not being able to get that from that person. And it's hard. It's hard to face that, and it's hard to work through it.
Yes, it is.
All right. So do you have any other thoughts on this being your 200th episode? Or where do you see authentic parenting going moving forward? You said you still feel like you've just begun, like you're just getting into your groove of interviewing and listening and everything. So where do you see it in the future?
I think I want to improve as much as I can in terms of what I want to provide for my listener. The content that I want to provide, I have to be very mindful, because even every word I say, sometimes people contact me and they say, when you said this, and I'm like, holy cow, I said that. Like in a passing, I say those things, but I should be very mindful of every word I say, because it can just impact someone on the other end. And I always want to be aware of that on the other end is this fragile, amazing, compassionate, loving human being. And I'm always curious about that person. And I don't want to hurt that person, and I want to help. And so nothing will change about the podcast in terms of content and moving forward. The day will be Thursday. I still will do interviews. I want to do more solo episodes and talk about different topics like boundaries, triggers, or what I'm going through in my life at the moment. Let's say,
yes, share this tween experience. Everybody wants to know.
The twin experience. I have to get my daughter on the podcast and talk about middle school relationships and technology use. I will put her on the podcast. She's willing to be. So I expected that from me in the future, in the near future.
Oh, that one would be great. She would be amazing. And like such an interesting thing for all of us to hear as parents, what it's really like what it's really like for them, like a candid experience.
Yes. Well, just the other day she said, such and such likes me, a boy. And she's like, I don't like him. No, I don't like him. And, there is that also going on. There's a lot of stuff in this twin years.
Right. And absorbing without reacting, absorbing what they're saying, staying curious and not reacting to every word.
You asked me in the group, what is one skill that I have cultivated as a parent and I am still practicing? That is the skill that I have cultivated and I'm still practicing. Not reacting right away to what my child is saying or going through, and just taking a pause, taking a little, like 2 little seconds to craft my response, to think of my response, to not say my response, right? Because my first initial response is always some judgmental, critical, wordy, or reactive thing. And so I have worked very hard.
And just because that's your first response, that doesn't mean it's the one you should go with. That's tough to learn, because usually, people would be like, go with your gut, trust your gut, just do what you think is right. But sometimes the first word that pops into your mind or the first thing you want to say, don't go with that.
No, I think this sums up this is the golden nugget from this episode.
And I don't know. It's hard, man. My oldest is almost 4. And sometimes she'll say, oh, I don't love mama. Like just in this really, in that voice. And I'll say, And then she goes, I do love mama. But I always just say, like really curious, because I know she doesn't mean that. And I'm not going to argue with her that she does love me. But she always right away will take it back. And one day she said it when she was at dance. And she's like the chattiest one at dance. All the dance parents know her. And 2 of the moms turned around and looked really shocked. They were like, oh, you don't mean that. And I was just kind of like, who cares? Like, why are you guys giving that so much weight?
Yes.
Like, I know she doesn't mean that. I don't need to say that. I don't doubt that she loves me. She's just practicing. She's just practicing scenarios. She's just saying things. And sometimes she quite frankly just says things backwards because she's still figuring it out. And I'm not going to take that personally. That's not for me. And I know she doesn't feel that way. It was just interesting in that moment when I saw like the shock.
Yes, you don't want to respond to especially young children's statements at face value and argue, because you are the mature one. Remember, we are the mature one.
Yeah. And you know what? And I kind of thought in that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm proud of me. Like all these other people, they took it personally, what my kid said to me. Like, why do they care what my kid says to me? But I just thought like, ooh, man, I'm really like developing a go with the flow, which I know comes naturally to you, but that does not come naturally to me. And I was like, ooh, good for me. I thought to myself when I went home, like, I'm getting it,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's because of you, because I've been listening for all these years. See, you affect a lot of people's lives.
Yes. It's hard to sometimes think about that. I don't want to think about that, honestly, when I record it, because it's too much pressure.
Right. It's a lot of pressure. Well, like you said, every single word that you say, people are, resonating with or triggering by or feeling a way about. And that's a lot of pressure.
Yes. But I can't conclude this episode, even though you're leading this episode, without acknowledging and recognizing you, Lauren. You have been an amazing part of this community. Without you, the Authentic Parenting community will not be what it is. And I'm not just saying this as empty words. Everybody knows it. And you committed your time, your energy. You voluntarily managed this group, engage them, and connect people, and recap the episodes and suggest the resources and ask the questions. And oh my gosh, it's truly, I mean, you are a representative of this community. We have values and we have mission. I think this is just an amazing thing. And so from the bottom of my heart and from everyone else, a big thank you for doing everything.
Thank you. That really means a lot. And I really appreciate being able to do it. And I just feel really grateful for all the people that I've met in doing it and all the conversations and the ways that it has expanded me as a parent, as a mom, and just as a friend who is able to hear and listen to other stories and learn more. Yes.
Well, and I'm happy we did the 200 episode together with your opening. Yay!
I'm happy too. So yeah,
you
episode.
you are a great host, and you can be a really good co-host. So maybe we should think about this for the future.
Oh man, yeah. I'm sure I'm going to have lots of new questions again when I have this third baby. I'm going to be the one writing in the questions every week.
Well, congratulations on your pregnancy and happy delivery, and enjoy the pregnancy before the delivery part. But
yeah, thank you.
And let's conclude. Do you remember how I usually conclude my episode? Maybe we can say together.
No, you do it.
And
you do it way better. Okay.
As always, connect to the present moment, to yourself and your children. Until next week, I'm Anna Seawold, and that was Lauren Thomas.
Parenting.
That's Lauren Thomas. We'll see you next week.